What's going on, guys? As I promised, we are doing our rookie mock draft, offense and defense combined, because that's the way our drafts go. You don't just get to do your IDP players. So I've brought along a couple guests tonight. We have Ryan Coker and Blake Meinberg. Blake Meinberg, a.k.a. Pappy, from last year, helped us with the mock draft. Glad to have you back.
Thanks for having me, Seth. Really appreciate you.
And Ryan Coker.
The invite.
Absolutely. Ryan Coker is another seasoned veteran of IDP, last year league winner as well. So he's got that to put his cap on as well. Welcome, Ryan.
Thank you for having me.
So what we're going to do is we're going to try to get through as many rounds as we can tonight, 2, maybe 3 rounds of mixed offense and defensive players from this year's rookie drafts. I'm not going to go too far into it as far as scoring, but I will tell you that our defensive players in this setup get it's a much higher scoring thing. Just ballpark average 10 points for a sack, 2.2 points for a full tackle, 1.1 for a assisted tackle. Essentially, good defensive players really make the difference in a league like this. So if they feel like they're a little bit pushed up the board, it makes sense because of the scoring. So if you have any questions about the scoring, you can scroll back to even, 2022 when I walked through the entire scoring system of what I feel like is one of the better scoring situations out there. But let's get on to the actual item of the day, which is the mock draft. And I will be going first, followed by Blake, and then Ryan, and we will repeat that order. We will be picking for every team because IDP drafts don't always follow a good ADP of what will really happen. So we will be picking for every team, 12 team, like I said, 2 to 3 rounds. So to get it started, it's no secret. It's pretty simplistic. It's Bijan Robinson. I mean, the guy is a generational talent. Everybody's expecting it to be him to be the number one, even in Superflex leagues. He is the guy that people are taking number one. He's fallen into a run-heavy offense. Arthur Smith, former Tennessee Titans offensive coordinator with the great Derrick Henry years. I expect nothing but great things from Bijan. And if you're willing to get a lot of picks back, you might trade out of that pick. But I think he's going to be at least a solid running back for 5 years.
Yeah. I mean, he's going to be one of those guys that coming out was already a big-time player 2 years ago. It's been just people salivating, waiting for him to come out of the draft. Easy pick.
And that puts
I think
us
even for this year, I mean, I think the workload for him, I mean, is pretty well carved out. I mean, having a little bit of competition there, I don't think he's going to get a lot of competition, I guess, from the other backs there. So I mean, it's nice for him to have, I guess, that guaranteed workload from the offset.
Yeah, I mean, it's a no-brainer. You know, being picked in the top 10 as a running back tells you so much about what they're wanting to do with this cat. So that leaves Blake on the clock at number 2.
Yeah, I went back and forth for about 5 seconds on this pick, and I'm going to stick with Jahmyr Gibbs as the number 2 pick. Like that the Lions picked up this guy. They got rid of Swift. They're going to make use of his skill set. Catching it out of the backfield, he is going to be their do-it-all running back. It's a pretty simple pick, but if you can't get Bijan, this is the next running back you want to get off the list.
Yeah, I mean, it's a PPR monster. They've already talked about playing him in the slot. There is a question on, possibly taking one of the wide receivers here just because he is in the mixed backfield with Montgomery. But I think that when you talk about running backs, especially even in this class, there's these two and then there's the rest. It's definitely a massive tier break after Gibbs and Robinson.
All right, that leaves me up. So I am actually going to select Jackson Smith and Jigba. I actually think that long-term play, I guess, in Seattle, Tyler Lockett kind of turns into a fainting goat whenever he catches the ball more than 10 yards downfield. You talk to or hear, I guess, a lot of these guys kind of talk him up between Olave and Garrett Wilson and him being there. And I mean, they've all kind of said that, JSN might be the best out of the bunch. So even though I don't know that there's a clear path for his touches and his production, maybe this year as best as it could be, I think that Lockett's getting up there in age. DK kind of has a similar set of a certain set of skills as far as that goes, but JSN is the pick for me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was actually when I was debating at number 2 because I like the situation in Seattle. I think that even this year it might be, you might get 50, 60 catches out of the guy, but 2 years down the road when they go get another quarterback after Gino's gone, this is going to be his number 1 target.
Yeah, I think that he'll have the slot on lockdown, obviously, as a rookie. I think there's an argument to be made of taking him over Gibbs. There's been so much hype around him, even at camp. I think that he has a great opportunity to step in. And as you said, Lockett is getting older, but three-headed monster there, I think, can be very successful, even as a rookie year.
Yep.
Going into pick 4, so that's back on me. I know a lot of people and are high on Quentin Johnston. Great. He fell to a great quarterback, a great offense, but I'm just not there with him. I'm concerned about his drops. I'm concerned about him being a bit of a one-trick pony. They've got their big man downfield. Granted, Mike Williams is probably going to miss 5 games this year because that's just par for the course. But I'm much, much higher on Jordan Addison, and that's who I'm going to take at number 4. I really think that playing next to Jefferson is going to be the best thing for him. He's not going to get any double coverages. He's not going to get any of that. He's not going to be the focal point of the defense trying to stop him. And I think that learning next to Jefferson, Thielen and Jefferson were both top 15 wide receivers, so we know they can do it there. I think that that's just in the cards, maybe not as a rookie, but moving into his second year, that's going to be a tough tandem to go up against.
Yeah, and I think even with Kirk Cousins as the quarterback, he knows how to spread the ball. He's a savvy veteran. I think it's going to be a good thing for Addison to come to that situation, knowing that the guy across from him is double teamed most of the time.
All right, that puts us at pick number 5, and that's Blake's on the clock.
Well, I'm going to take our first defensive player off the board. It's going to be Will Anderson Jr. I like the situation he landed in. In a lot of leagues right now, he's lining up as a DN linebacker flex, which is going to make him even more valuable because you can put him in both spots. He's the most polished pass rusher in the draft this year. I think he comes in and makes a day 1 impact. It's going to be him and pretty much nobody else on that defense, and that defense is going to be on the field a lot.
Yeah, I haven't been hiding my love for Will Anderson on this podcast. He's so polished, he's so impressive, and to me, this draft is very top 3 heavy, and then it can be defense off the board at that point in time. And Will Anderson comes in as probably one of the best polished pass rushers since Chase Young, even though he hasn't really even panned out. But you just know what you're going to get with this guy.
Yep, exactly. Leaves Ryan for the next one.
So I am going to take Quentin Johnston on this one, and I guess for me, I have pick 6 and 7 in our draft, and Johnston and Jordan Addison are both going to be kind of on my radar, I guess, as far as that goes. I think Jordan Addison, is going to be a very solid number 2, but I do think, I guess, that there is a path for Quentin to kind of be the number 1 eventually in the Chargers offense. Keenan Allen's getting older. Mike Williams, has had some injury problems, I guess, in the past. So with that, I know there are concerns, and he's not exactly the cleanest prospect as far as that goes, but I think there is still a lot of upside, and I guess for him not having to kind of jump in year one and be the guy, I think that he's definitely got some potential, and I guess I'm willing to wait around a year or 2 to kind of see how he fleshes out.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with you on this one. I have 2 words for you: Kellen Moore. He runs incredible offenses. If you look at what Dallas had as a third receiver any given year, when Gallup was a rookie, to Cedric Wilson having a breakout 800-yard season and then getting paid by the Dolphins. If he's playing that third receiver, in that kind of offense, he's going to be a 700, 800-yard guy, as long as he doesn't drop the ball.
The question is, will he be the third wide receiver? They
Exactly.
have Jordan Palmer there, and I still think that he's going to beat him out. Now, maybe it's just because they're going to play a different role. Whereas now, when Mike Williams goes out, it will be Quentin Johnston that takes over that role. But I agree with you as far as Kellen Moore. I think this is his last year for the Chargers of him being there, and Quentin can absolutely step into that role. I guess my concern with Quentin is I see a lot of Kelvin Benjamin in him. I see him going up and being able to do that high point catching, but I don't see a lot of really crisp route running. He was very well known. I mean, if you look at a lot of his tape, some of his best plays are dig routes, and then he spins to the outside and he runs. But it's very predictable. It's very standard. Maybe he'll be that trick pony and he'll be able to get it done. But I think he's really going to need to get some better route running. But being on a team with Keenan Allen, that is 100% going to help out.
Yep.
Okay, so that puts me back up at number 7. This is where I really feel like there's another significant break. I like Addison and Johnston as far as the next 2 wide receivers off. When you start looking at running backs, it's not great. You have guys that are sharing backfields, very questionable in how this is going to be set up. Wide receiver wise, you have a Zay Flowers, a first round guy, but he's got Lamar Jackson as his quarterback for the foreseeable future. So this is where I lean 2 different ways. It's either you pull the trigger on another defensive player, or you pull the trigger on a quarterback that can win you weeks. And I'm going to lean towards the quarterback, and that's Anthony Richardson. I just think that when you have a guy that's going to be able to rush the ball in for touchdowns, pass the ball good enough, but he's probably going to rush for 600 to 800 yards easy this year. And I would say 8 touchdowns rushing in. You get that as just a cheat code. The Lamar Jacksons of the world, the Cam Newtons of the world, all of them have very good rookie seasons as well because defenses don't know what to do with them. Past that, you could have a Vince Young on your hands, or you could have a guy like Cam that was able to do it for a lot of years. You're not going to get a 15-year starter out of Anthony Richardson. That's just not how his game is. But I feel like he has an opportunity to immediately impact your team. And I can't say that about any of the other offensive players at this point, that they would have an impact that Anthony Richardson could on your rookie year.
Don't disagree with you, Seth. He's the mold of Cam Newton coming out as number 1 overall pick years ago. He doesn't have the polished passing skills that Cam did, but from those 1-yard plunges that he's going to have probably 10 to 12 touchdowns on the ground this year, just because at the 1-yard line, you're going to hand it to your biggest player on that offense, which is going to be him.
Which is really going to hurt, Jonathan Taylor this year.
Yeah, and I mean, as the Jonathan Taylor owner in our league, I mean, it does make me nervous. But also the other thing I think with that, I mean, he is playing in a dome. I understand that, the Colts can open up the roof if they want to, but I mean, like I said, that is a very favorable environment. I mean, I think for any rookie quarterback, be playing in a dome, I guess this year is obviously going to help him out a little bit.
Yeah,
absolutely. So with the next pick and this 8th one, I was kind of in the same debate as Seth there. Is this where you quarterback it? Do you go somewhere with the defense? But at this time, I think you go with the hype of where the offense is with the tight ends. And this is where I would be watching for a Dalton Kincaid to come off the board. And I mainly say that he's getting rave reviews out of the camp right now. It looks like he's going to be maybe tight end 2 to start the season, but on the fast path to be able to go and take over that starting role pretty quick. And as a tight end coming out, he was one of the most skilled big men coming out in this draft. There's a lot of tight ends on the board, but I think each position this year has kind of 1 or 2 big ones and then it drops. And he's going to be your top tier 1 sitting there around that pick.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I mean, he was actually going to be my next pick if you didn't get him. I think with being, the wide receiver core, I mean, it's pretty much Diggs and then a bunch of other dudes. And I think for Kincaid, I mean, I think he has a real opportunity, I think, to kind of come into that number 2 role. I don't think it's, right out of the gate as far as that goes, but, Dawson Knox has been really good at just probably catching a touchdown here and there. And I mean, if he takes into that a little bit more, I mean, you're talking about a top 5 tight end, I mean, fairly quickly out of the gate.
Yep.
And tight end's so hard to come by. I mean, it's the most scarce position I feel like in fantasy right now. You have Travis Kelce, Mark Andrews, and I mean that's pretty much it. Like you can argue the Kyle Pittses and the Hawkinsons of the world, and maybe even the Goddards, but I mean it is scarce. So if you get somebody that's playable and is going to give you value, I don't think Kincaid's going to have a great rookie year. Tight ends typically don't, but they drafted him knowing what he is, knowing that they have Dawson Knox on a long-term contract. So they have a strategic plan to use him. He's going to be on a team that also has the same coaching staff. They're going to be very settled, so they're going to be able to develop him into the player that they want. And it feels like it's going to be a big slot receiver. He's not known for his blocking. He's very much of the Mike Gesicki role where he's a great playmaker. It's going to be exciting to see how they use him nonetheless. I think that it's about average of where he's going right now. So, yeah, it's a great pick.
It looks like it's up to me now. So I get kind of 2 intriguing prospects, I think, on my front. So I mean, I am the resident Las Vegas Raiders fan. So obviously Tyree Wilson is in play here for me. Kind of being, I guess, the defensive end one for me. But also Zach Charbonnet is also kind of staring me in the face, and I did make my ranking, so I'm going to stick with Zach Charbonnet and go with him. I think that, the Seattle backfield, I mean, it reminds me a lot of when Chris Carson was kind of in there, and there's a lot of uncertainty, but, Walker, I think being there, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if he led the league in rushing at this point for next year. But Charbonnet, I think being the draft capital of the second round pick, I still think that there's a chance for him to carve out a role in this offense, and he's kind of the last of the big 3, I guess, as far as running backs would go. Where I mean, I feel comfortable where it's you have some kind of role in this offense. We're not just guessing as far as that goes in terms of what you may be this year.
Yeah, and it's a run heavy offense. I mean, they're gonna split the carries. They're gonna do what's going on. And the fact of the matter with that is Walker couldn't stay healthy last year. I mean, he was banged up a little bit. So there is something to be said about him. I think he's got the banger mentality, and he's gonna get goal line carries. Walker's got a little bit more of the get out ahead of you speed kind of thing, but it's going to be more of, I think it's going to be a 2-headed backfield. They're not, I expect them to be more split on carries than I would say Walker outlasting Charbonnet. And I think Charbonnet is honestly not getting the respect that he probably will get by the end of the year, just by people realize how that offense is going to go.
Well, and Pete Carroll, if you look at his history, he always runs 2 running backs. Even when he was at USC, it was Reggie Bush and it was Lindell White. So Zach Charbonnet is in the same kind of mold as that banger running back that's going to get a ton of goal line carries. He may not get the yardage that you want, but if you need a guy that's going to pop in or steal a couple touchdowns here and there, he's going to be that guy rookie year. I think he can develop into more, and that's why you might stash him at this point. But rookie year, he's going to be that kind of spot start that you're hoping he gets a 1-yard plunge.
Yeah, I think we all can agree that it really was a shitty landing spot for Charbonnet.
Yep.
It's one of those things where the Walker owners are mad, the Charbonnet owners are mad, or future hopefully owners were mad, seeing that he is now in a crowded backfield. But with the Pete Carroll offense, there's going to be plenty to go around. It's just interesting that they would take another second-round running back after taking Walker last year and taking Jackson Smith-Njigba in the first round. I mean, they're really putting some high-power weapons into that offense, so it should be interesting to see. So it's back to me at pick 10, and at pick 10, I'm going back to the defense well. And once again, if you've been listening to the podcast, which I assume that you have, you would know that I have a lot of love for Mr. Jack Campbell. But here he goes into the first round because, once again, my opinion is after kind of Anthony Richardson, there is a significant drop-off as far as will you get value year one out of the players. I see Jack Campbell as a guy that I didn't honestly expect in the NFL to get drafted in the first round, let alone be the first linebacker off the board. But he went early and he went to a team that wants to have that mantra of being tough as nails and just play stout defense after they were pretty weak on it last year. He's going to be the focal point of that defense. Him and Aiden Hutchinson will be there for the next at least 4 years together. And I'm really excited to see how he transitions. But you also look at Alex Anzalone, not exactly the best linebacker in the world, and he was extremely fantasy relevant in this defense.
Yep, and it's a Dan Campbell kind of guy. High motor, going to get where he needs to get. The thing with Campbell, and this is going to be a big benefit for him, is he's not a great coverage linebacker. So he's a tackle hoss kind of guy. He's going to let those catches happen. He's going to get the tackle. I'd anticipate, as Seth has said a few times on this podcast, Campbell's going to be a 100 tackle guy rookie year.
Absolutely.
Pretty easy that defense. He might even sprinkle in a sack or two here and there. But
yeah, and
I think, I mean, everything that Blake said, I mean, I would reiterate. I mean, Jeremiah, or what was his name? Joke, I guess, on Cleveland. I mean, he was always a better coverage linebacker than he was anything else. But I mean, I think for Campbell, I mean, you are going to get the tackles, and I mean, he's just going to be in the middle of everything. Where I don't think people are going to be afraid to run on Detroit, but he's somebody I think that's going to be fine and an immediate contributor year one, like you guys were saying.
Yep.
And I will say that, you can argue that he's not the best in coverage. No, because some of these guys are former safeties and whatnot. This dude is 6'5", 250 pounds. I mean, he's a monster. But he does have 99 percentile lateral quickness. And which means basically he's going to be able to be on the field for the passing down. So even if he's not the best in coverage, he's good enough to stay on the field. And sometimes you want him to be a step slow so he can get the tackle after his guy catches it. We're talking fantasy, not real life. So you need them to catch the ball in order to get some points going here.
Yeah. And with this next pick for mine, we have a little run at some defense here at the end of this first round. I usually see defense go there. I would debate Mr. Vegas with Tyrese Wilson, but I like the landing spot of Lucas Van Ness better. And that's who I'm taking. All right. One, in our current league setup, he's set up as a DN DT linebacker. 3 different positions you can start him at because they don't know where he's going to play on that line. Rashawn Gary's coming off an injury. So early in the season, he's going to be on that field because it's not going to be hard to beat out Inglepore, who had taken that spot last year. He was kind of hit or miss. Van Ness is another high motor guy. That defense with Jordan Love is going to be on the field a lot more than people expect because Love is going to get knocked around in his first year as a starter. I like Van Ness.
Yeah, that's a rookie of the year pick.
So we got 2 people pretty big fans. All right.
So he was one that, I mean, the athletic ability is obviously there. I just think he didn't get a lot of playing time at Iowa. And I mean, the little bit that I've seen from, them talking him up and everything else, like I said, it was one of those where I was, bored one day and saw the odds for it. And I was like, well, I'll throw $5 or $10 on this and see where it goes. So, but I mean, he was definitely, defensive end too for me. I think having positional flexibility with that, I mean, it makes him even a little bit more intriguing, but everything Blake said, I mean, I agree with.
That's interesting. I do have him a little bit farther down on my defensive end rankings, but it's interesting to see the versatility of him as far as with a lot of leagues not knowing where he's going to play. So that D tackle linebacker, D end aspect, or even D line linebacker ability for leagues that don't play the specified different
positions.
Yeah, thank you. And I agree. He has that hockey background. He's tough. He's going to come off the edge. He's coming into a team that is going to have a guy that's working his way back from an injury. So more often than not, he's going to be able to get on the field early, and they can put him all over the place. So as I preach, opportunity breeds success in fantasy football, especially when you're talking about the defensive side. So, yeah, I can absolutely see that going there. So Ryan, go ahead and we'll finish out round one.
All right, you guys are gonna make me do it. So I will take Tyree Wilson of the Las Vegas Raiders. Uh, he is he's one, I guess, where the Raiders like him big, they like him fast. He is kind of checking all those boxes. It's just there's not really a whole lot to go on right now. He had a Liz Frank injury, I think, in his foot. So, you know, we talked earlier about a few guys that, hey, they with the reports are out and they look really good, and then they're coming along nicely and they're getting a lot of playing time and blah 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 and all this stuff. With Wilson, you're not getting any of that because he's not able to, currently lace up. Him and Jimmy Garoppolo are just apparently hanging out with, being foot buddies and just having all kinds of trouble with it. But
Rex Ryan would be very impressed with that group.
yeah. But with that, year one, I think, is a little bit of a dice throw because they have Chandler Jones in year two of his, I'll just say it, free agent bust contract that they signed him to. You obviously have Max Crosby. Max is obviously going to get after it. I mean, in terms of sacks, in terms of hurries, he's still going to be the focal point of the defense. But, Wilson, I think, has enough upside and skill set, I think, to, be there eventually. But I don't know how much it is year one.
Yeah, I think he's a stash guy, right? Even coming into the draft, I'm more concerned that he's more like a Colin Farrell that they drafted a few years ago
You had to
because
bring
he's a
that up,
raw
didn't you?
prospect. He's a raw prospect again. But it's a good stash to put on your bench, right? At this point in the draft, you've won the championship or you've traded out. You're pretty well set, and you can easily put him on your taxi squad if you needed to.
And
Right.
the big thing with him too is that he's big enough that he can play all over the field. They can line
Right.
him up at D tackle. They can line him up at linebacker. They can put him out at DN. So if they want to have Max Crosby, Chandler Jones, and him on the field at the same time, there's going to be an avenue for that to happen.
Yep, exactly.
So this puts me back on the clock at 2-1. And honestly, there was a significant run on defense there at the end. So I'm looking back on the offensive side and I'm like, wow, there are, we still have a Bryce Young, a CJ Stroud, a Zay Flowers, even though we've talked about that. But the guy that I'm going to take is another, it's a position that of scarcity. And I think that out of all the players in the draft, Devon Achane landed in the best spot for his skill set. I'm concerned about year one. Absolutely. I would think that if you have a taxi squad, it might be one that you're willing to maybe take the risk on and put them on there with them having Mostert and Wilson. But the closer we get to the season, the more we're going to know about this dude. I know there's the rumors out there of Dalvin Cook going to Miami. I don't think that's going to happen. Dalvin Cook wants money, and Miami is not going to be willing to put money into a running back. They have 5 running backs right now in their room that all have seen significant playing time on the field. And that's with, outside of Achane, who's the rookie. You have Ahmed, you have Gaskin, you have Mostert, and Jeff Wilson.
Yep.
All of them can play well in this system. And I don't think that they need to go and pay $10 million for Dalvin Cook when they're going to be able to rotate through any of these guys with special skill sets and be able to be successful.
Well, and I love a running back here in one of the first 2 picks in the second round. Every year, I seem to do that. They're usually that third guy that ends up being really pretty decent because of injuries. He's walking in a great situation. Mostert, great running back, but he's injured. He's banged up most of the time. Wilson, decent running back, banged up most of the time. He's going to get playing time as the season progresses, but I don't think you're going to start him week 1. Right?
No,
You're going to sit him on your bench for a while, but week 7, 8, 9, somewhere in that range, this guy could be your playoff push type of running back because he'll get those touches then. All right. It's going to leave me for 2-2. I'm going to stay on offense because we've let some things float out there. A defense run at the end was, a lot of decent players. But if I'm sitting here in this early part of the draft, I'm likely needing a quarterback. And I'm going to go grab the number 1 overall pick, Bryce Young. His size does scare me. I think he is pretty undersized. I do like the situation he's in with Frank Reich. I think Frank is a decent quarterback whisperer in his own capability. He's going to be a running kind of guy. I think he's going to surprise us with his feet a little bit more this rookie season than people expect. And but he's going to be a guy that hopefully 2-3 years down the road, you got yourself a top 10 QB.
Yeah, I think you hope for. I mean, I think Drew Brees was kind of the comparison that he got quite a bit, but playing in the SEC, playing for that long, I think the overall NFL consciousness to just kind of make sure that the quarterbacks are as safe as they possibly can be. I mean, you know, it only takes one freak hit. I mean, to, break his collarbone or something like that. But I mean, I still think that the skill set is there. I think that they've kind of revamped the offense a little bit with Miles Sanders. Jonathan Mingo's another guy. Thielen, I guess, probably still has some legs out under him. So, I who knows? I mean, you could be surprised. I mean, I don't think he's the QB1 this year, but you know, is he an early QB2? That wouldn't surprise me, I guess, this year.
Yeah, and the big thing with him too is that like everybody talks about, well, he's so short. How is he? He's not going to be able to throw over the offensive. He's been doing it for years. Alabama
Right.
has NFL sized offensive linemen. Like he knows
Right.
how to do that. The injury part is the part that I do get concerned about because he just is small, but he's able to escape in the pocket. He does run when needed, but he doesn't run it as a necessity. So I would put him more as a Russell Wilson esque than a Cam
Sure.
Newton esque. Um, he's smart about it though. So I expect to have some big things from Bryce Young, and I think that if you got him in the second round, you'd be pretty happy, in a year or two when this guy really starts to come into his own.
Yep.
That puts Ryan on the clock.
You guys are gonna make me do it, and I don't appreciate it. So I'm gonna stick to my rankings, and I will say, I
Pete
mean,
Garoppolo.
uh, this is not. This is one of those where he's there, and I think that for me, I mean, he's a smaller guy coming from Boston College, where he didn't
Uh,
get exactly elite QB play. There are some concerning things, but I mean, Zay, I think, I mean, could potentially be, the number one or the number two, excuse me, because I think Mark Andrews will always be the number one in this offense. OBJ is a little old. They've got a bunch of other guys that just are a bunch of dudes as far as we're concerned. So I mean, I will take Zay Flowers. He does scare me a little bit because I mean, you hope you're not in, you know, you hope it's Deshaun Jackson and not, Will Fuller. So I think that's kind of the comps for him. And I mean, a smaller, quicker, faster guy, but how many consistent targets can he get in this kind of offense? I guess where it's worthwhile to draft him.
Yeah, they got the new offensive coordinator coming in. They say they're going to throw it more. Yeah, sure, whatever. I mean, I get that. You have a running back at quarterback, but he has proven that he can throw the football. He threw for 35 touchdowns his MVP season. Zay Flowers is that quick twitch guy. Him and Jordan Addison, I think, are two of the best kind of slot type wide receivers out of this class. I put Smith and Jigba as an outside guy that'll probably play slot, but he'll end up being an outside guy for his career. And I think that at this point, Zay Flowers is a good deal. Rashad Bateman's getting cortisone shots in his foot from his Lisfranc injury. So things aren't exactly progressing great for their number one wide receiver. So Zay Flowers could just be guilty by, necessity. I'm on the same boat as OBJ was paid way too much money to not do anything this year. He'll be okay, but I feel like it just screams so much more a bust pick than a guy that's really going to revitalize this offense.
yeah,
Sammy
he
Watkins is
worries
the guy
me.
that comes to mind.
I mean, if you look last year when Hollywood Brown got out of the clutches of that offense, he was on pace for a near record-breaking year with the Arizona Cardinals before his injury took him out. Right, so they definitely done decent with or getting guys that are talented, but I don't know if that Ravens offense knows how to use these type of talents. He's a good twitch guy, but I mean, Lamar Jackson gets into trouble, he's going to throw it to his tight ends every single time if you watch. So it's a good play right here in the second round for him. I wouldn't go first round, but he is a risk play that you might be throwing on your taxi squad hoping he develops.
Yeah, absolutely. So that leaves us with the fourth pick of the second round. And I'm going to be honest, this has gone a little bit different than what I was kind of expecting. There's a lot of good still on the board, which, makes me feel a little bit better about some of my second round draft picks coming up in the future draft. But I wonder if it's time to take a chance on another tight end. There's two more that I really like in Laporta and Michael Mayer. Or do I stick with some of these running backs that are kind of the shot in the dark type of people? Having said all that, moving through, I'd be remiss if I don't take my number 3 defensive player off the board, and that's Jalen Carter. Listen, this guy fell into a great situation with a great defense that's going to just take care of him, put him under his wing. I get it. There's some risk with this dude. But to me, there's no defensive tackle in this draft that can have the pass rushing capability that Jalen Carter has. That's something that is special when you get those guys, when you get like the Javon Hargrave, when you get a DeForest Buckner, the Quinnen Williams type of guy. That's a game changer when it comes. Aaron Donald, obviously the GOAT of D tackles. It's just a game changer when you get that kind of a person. It's too impressive not to go ahead and take the risk.
Yeah, don't disagree with you there. I mean, they have a lot of mouths to feed on that Eagles defense, but they did really well with it last year. Hargrave going over to the Niners is going to leave a big hole on that defensive line, and they're going to have a good rotation of fresh legs coming in. This guy was a first round pick 2 years ago if he'd come out. He was the
Yes.
best on that Georgia's defense. So them getting him at, what was it, 9 in the NFL draft or something, some crazy number. This is a great pick for fantasy too. It's a DT that could be a top 10 for you for 10 years.
Yeah, I think if he had some more flexibility, if he was a defensive end as well, I mean, he would have went way sooner than this. I don't disagree with you. Like I said, the comps are always going to be high for Carter. And I mean, I think he can put it together. It's just obviously landing spot. I think they were a little hesitant, to play Nakobe Dean last year, so that probably scares a little bit of people with just the whole Georgia connection. But I don't disagree with anything you said. I mean, if he flushes out like he should, I mean, there's sky's the limit for this guy.
Yeah. So with 2-5, I am going to flip back to the offensive side. And here's where I'm going to mix it up. I'm going tight end, but I'm going Sam Laporta over Michael Mayer.
Okay.
Okay. I like the situation that Sam Laporta landed in. He's the same kind of Dan Campbell kind of guy. It's going to be a do it all. If you look at his comparisons, they comped him a lot to a George Kittle type, right? Can block, but is a great hands, great receiver. That team has a quarterback that's established. Right now, the Raiders, I don't know who's going to be their quarterback. Is it going to be Jimmy Garoppolo, Carson Wentz, or the rookie, right? we don't know that point right now. And I really do like how Jared Goff has made use of his tight ends. He made Higbee relevant. He helped with Hawkinson before they traded him. Sam Laporta is going to be another great tight end for him. Not a 1,000-yard guy, but at least a guy that can come in and maybe start day one for you.
They've had praises sung his way during camps and stuff like that. So I'm a little hesitant on Laporta, but I understand that the opportunity's there. Now, you said that they don't know who the quarterback is for the Raiders. And I want to ask Ryan, as a Raider fan and as a Purdue fan, is Purdue's QB gonna start a game this year? Former Purdue's QB, I guess.
I think he will. So Aiden O'Connell is who we're talking about. Last pick of the fourth round. Honestly, he went higher than I thought he did, or thought he would. With that, I mean, they kind of ESPN'd him a little bit, talking about, oh, he's got a quick release. And I mean, he's played with some, halfway decent NFL caliber, wide receivers. So I think the talent is there. I worry about him just kind of being fed to the wolves at this point. Jimmy is Jimmy. Brian Hoyer's there, but Brian Hoyer's been kind of the ghost of Brian Hoyer for the last 4 or 5 years now. So the Raiders, I mean, if Jimmy can't go, I mean, I'm kind of full in on the whole tanking, and it could be a Caleb Williams or Drake May kind of deal as far as that goes. So it's not looking bright and rosy for the silver and black at this point.
Well, on that high note, you are on the clock.
And he's taking
Well,
Aiden
so I-
O'Connell.
So I am going to stick to my rankings, and I am actually going to take Michael Mayer, the tight end for the Las Vegas Raiders. Can either of you name the two other tight ends on the Raiders roster at this current moment?
No, because they were Waller and Moreau, and they're both gone. So I have no idea who's there.
So it's Austin Hooper and OJ Howard. Mayer, I think, did a
Those
good
guys are
enough
better than I
job.
thought, I guess.
Yeah. Well, Hooper comes from Tennessee, I believe. I don't really remember where OJ Howard was, but Mayer
Sam
was a
thought
second
he was
round.
bagging.
Yep. So Mayer was a second round pick. Played for Notre Dame. Not overly athletic, but always kind of seemed to find himself open in the field. For me, like I said, there's maybe a couple other guys that are just, a little bit more athletic, but I think he is kind of the complete package, I guess, for like the overall total tight end. As opposed to maybe does one thing good, but he's just a guy that does, 3 or 4 things really well. So
Yeah, I think it's a good spot for him as well. Um, he's going to come into a situation where year one he might not be, getting as much playing time as you'd hope. But like you said, if the Raiders go all in on some type of tank for one of these top tier quarterbacks coming out, and Caleb Williams seems to be your prize, this is a play for the future if you go get Mayer.
yeah. And
Yep.
you guys did mention it. Waller's gone. Foster Moreau is, kind of tight end and waiting behind Waller, that it seemed like they liked him. And then he had his sickness, I guess, that kind of came to him. So, but like I said, I think Mayer, at least what's in front of him on the depth chart, and I guess the opportunity, could be beneficial, year one, but definitely in year 2 and year 3. So
Yeah, and as for as many tight ends that come out that are like just pass catching tight ends, they're like, oh well, they're not great blockers, but they're really good. They don't seem to be successful. I mean, Gesicki's had flashes. Evan Ingram's probably the most well-known one, and he just finally is in somewhat of a system that allows him to be successful. But it just seems like, sorry, but if you can't block, there's no use for you in the NFL. They just can't get on the field enough.
Yep, exactly.
agreed.
So now I'm actually getting a little bit like, what do I do here? There's
a lot of different ways you could roll here.
There's rankings, and then there's what I believe, and the rankings are telling me that Kendre Miller is the pick here for the Saints, the running back for the Saints. And I'm not gonna make that pick. I am going running back, but I'm going Roschon Johnson for the Chicago Bears. And the fact of the matter is that Khalil Herbert has never been the full-time back and stayed healthy. They have Donta Foreman there too, and I get it that this first year might not be the best that you're going to get out of this guy, but I just feel like he has the opportunity to really surprise people. He was really good at Texas. The only reason he didn't get more love is because he was behind Bijan Robinson. I think that he has the ability to be the 3-down back, and the Bears like to run the football. He has a nose for the end zone. I think we'll see him on the field sooner rather than later. And like I said, Donta Foreman hasn't been a picturesque health of his career, and Khalil Herbert is nice, but I don't think he's the answer for Chicago.
No, and I think Chicago is a not even a dark horse, but one of those offenses that could lead the NFL in rushing yardage next year. Between the running backs and the quarterback, that could be a 2,000 plus yard team, right? So there's going to be touches. Maybe early in the season it's going to be a heavy amount, but those injuries are going to pile up, and this guy could be just like I was a Chane for the Miami. Could be an 8, 9, 10 week kind of guy that you're going to get a playoff push with.
Yeah.
I believe it's pronounced A-Chain, but I could be wrong.
A-Chain?
Yeah, it's like, like what they put around their necks,
Okay.
A-Chain.
I can't wait for the guy to come out that's going to be Big Hat. All right. So with the next pick, I'm going to give some love. I'm not high on this guy. I'm not one that is really wanted to go grab him, but teams are going to need him. It's going to be CJ Stroud at QB.
Glad somebody took him. I just couldn't.
I I kind of fall in the same thing. I don't like the situation that he's walking into with the Texans. Uh, I mean, if you look at historically, the best Texans QB they've had was Matt Schaub, and that was like 15 years ago.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. You need to massage that thought out a little bit.
Well, maybe. They haven't been that great for a while. I just don't see where he's going to have a lot of offensive weapons right now, but he is the most polished passer from an accuracy standpoint coming out. So, maybe he's going to be very efficient for you, but he's a spot start guy, even on any roster for my thought process right now.
I mean, I had him and Bryce Young. I'm fairly close in the rankings. I mean, I think that Young's situation is better, but I don't know that they both kind of do different things better than the other one. So I mean, for Stroud, I mean, I think that he's still a building block, I guess, for a team that's kind of looking for a younger quarterback. So I mean, I have no problem with this pick.
Yep.
Well, what I know is that if I take a quarterback in the top 3, I love for them to be a project. Just ask the 49ers.
Yep. He's coming in at third string, that Trey Lance right now.
Yep, behind Sam
Darnold.
Icy Ghost Darnold. Yeah. Wow.
All right, Ryan.
It is me. I swear I actually like running backs. It's just that none of them have actually been in my rankings where I've liked them. So I'm gonna go with Jonathan Mingo here for the Carolina Panthers.
I like this pick a lot.
Yeah. So he's kind of been, I guess, I don't want to say that, kind of the second round, the start of the second round, I guess, kind of wide receivers that you're comfortable taking. I think that him, Jalen Reed, Marvin Mims, I mean, those guys are all kind of in that same tier, and it's just kind of like, what flavor of ice cream do you like the best? For me, I mean, I think that, being paired with Bryce Young to kind of be, hey, we brought in our quarterback, we're going to bring you in too, also to kind of learn with him as far as that goes. I mean, like I mentioned, Adam Thielen's there. Adam Thielen has already started to do broadcasting things, so it's like, how much longer is Thielen even going to play? You're also looking at DJ Shark, which, I mean, he's kind of started to put it together a little bit more, but we don't really know exactly what he's going to do. And then you also have Terrace Marshall, who we've been waiting on Terrace Marshall to be, an LSU bona fide wide receiver, I think, in the NFL, and he just hasn't really ever panned out. So my pick would be, I mean, at this point, I mean, I like the upside of Mingo better than I like some of the other running backs as far as that would go.
I like Mingo here too. Truth be told, I was hoping he'd last to 3-2, so you could get a Bryce Young Mingo stack to start. But I could see him going at this point in the second round easily, just knowing he's going to be walking into a de facto, I could be the number 1 receiver day one.
Honestly, I could see him falling into the back of the first in a lot of drafts because he actually has some spot size to him where, most of these wide receivers this year are so small. Like you outside of Quentin Johnston and, Jackson is an okay size, but I mean, Addison and Flowers and the rest of the guys that we might talk about with, Rice and Hyatt, they're all just it's just a small wide receiver class, and it's all kind of one type, which maybe that's why I feel like I'm just not that excited about the wide receivers, because it's just a modification of which one do you like better that's the same kind of mold.
Yep.
But I do like Mingo. I like where he landed. I like the draft capital that they spent on him. It was early second round. So I think that there's a lot of opportunity that him and Bryce Young could become, best of friends, if you will.
Exactly.
Well, moving on to
defense.
Yeah, I am going back to defense. Moving on to 210. I am taking Drew Sanders here. My biggest concern with the linebacker for the Denver Broncos is the fact that he went to the third round, possible first round draft pick that fell to the third round, not because of injury, not because of anything of that nature, but just 1 year of really dominant play at Arkansas after being at Alabama. They used him more as an edge rusher at Alabama. Is that what they're going to do in Denver? If that's the case, I think he's going to play much more linebacker than he will actually edge rusher. But in a lot of leagues, he has that defensive line or defensive end eligibility to him. And if that's the case, Drew Sanders is going to be a cheat code year one, even if he isn't a full-time starter, because he's going to get a lot of tackles. Up to 50 to 60 tackles for an edge is a great year. Outside of that, I think that he's going to be able to move on. Josie Jewell's in a 1-year deal. They did re-sign Singleton to a 3-year deal, but he could beat him out easily. And everything that you heard from camp is that he was just absolutely outstanding. So I'd be very happy to get him in the second round, even if you have to wait just a little bit for him to develop. I think that he can absolutely become a star in this league.
Yeah, and Denver's needing that pass rushing presence, right? Since Von Miller left, they haven't had that pop off the end that they need. This guy's being brought in to be that pop. So he's going to get his opportunity. And the linebackers behind them are 2 guys that are tackle house type of guys. So they're going to let him pin back his ears as much as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I agree. I mean, with everything you guys have said. So, but I think for the little bit I've read up on him, I mean, it just seems like he hasn't been playing the position that long. So, I think, I mean, it is scary, I guess, for guys to have, round 1, round 2, I guess, price checks as far as that goes. But I think for him, I mean, the capability is there, and I think the ability is there. It's just a matter of kind of putting it all together and seeing some more playing time and kind of see where he shakes out.
Yeah. All right. So with the next one, I kind of go back and forth on this one, but I'm going to go for the value here because my heart's telling me I could go Nolan Smith, Devin Witherspoon are still on the board, but I need to go for value at this point and go for the Kendre Miller with New Orleans. He's kind of dropped out of that running back spot right now, kind of dropped down the board. This would be a great spot to go pick him up as an opportunist because you know that Alvin Kamara might be facing a suspension to start the year, and they're going to need a running back out there. And look at who his quarterback is. Derek Carr, he's really good with a running back behind him, right? Look at Josh Jacobs last year. He had a great year with him as the quarterback. So I think it's a value pick here. Not where my heart is, but it's a value pick.
Yeah, I mean, running backs are hard to come by, and a guy that that will be possibly starting in that kind of passing, receiving back role. They did bring in Jamal Williams to the Saints this year, off his 18 touchdown anomaly season. I don't think that Jamal Williams is going to be the Jamal Williams we saw in Detroit. I think he's going to be a guy that's valuable at times, but is going to do that kind of Mark Ingram role where, wow, you're going to have some flash weeks, but at the end of the year, he's not going to be a valuable fantasy asset to have. Kendre Miller could be the guy that kind of steps up if Kamara actually does miss some time. Even if he doesn't, Kamara's contract is getting pretty pricey. And if they want to go younger, they're going to do like every other team has done this offseason and dump their expensive running back.
Exactly. Yep.
That leads me at the end of the second round, and I'm going to stick with my rankings, and I'm going to select Myles Murphy from the Cincinnati Bengals. I don't know that he has a clear path, I guess, to playing time in year 1 behind Sam Hubbard and Trey Hendrickson, but Trey Hendrickson kind of got a little bit banged up last year. So I think that, there's definitely opportunity there to at least start kind of in a rotating role and then maybe grow that a little bit more. But, Myles Murphy, I know out of Clemson, I mean, he had all the ability in the world, just had some injuries, I think, that kind of sidelined his career a little bit more than we needed it to. But I think, I mean, at this point, an upside defensive end, I mean, I'll take it at that point.
Yep. He should be a good upside there. I like him landing in Cincinnati too. Big guy, could be a rotation guy to start, but 2 years from now you'd be going, this guy's a 10-sack guy every year. He has that kind of upside.
When you guys are looking at your defensive linemen, defensive edge rusher kind of people, do you take into account possibly like the division that they're going to play in, the quarterback that those teams have, and kind of, just that thought process? Is that more like a tiebreaker? Or do you even think of that at all?
I go for.
I mean, I
I
don't
go.
know that. Go ahead, Blake.
I was gonna say I go kind of for the scheme, and I also look at guys that I anticipate can get that 60 tackle season in there, right?
Yeah.
Miles Murphy might not be a guy that's going to get 10 sacks a season, but if he gets 60 tackles, 6 sacks, and 10 pass knockdowns, that's a pretty good DN to go grab. So that's where I kind of look. I look at guys that could be tackle guys. Sorry, go ahead,
Yeah,
Ryan.
and I will say, I mean, so on Sleeper, Miles Murphy is just listed as a defensive lineman. Or a, I guess if there's a little bit other platforms that have maybe a little bit more flexibility where he's a, defensive end slash linebacker, whatever it may be, I think he's probably picked up a little bit quicker, but, like I said, I think, I mean, you're on a Cincinnati Bengals team that obviously should score a lot. They should be up. I mean, he's going to get some pass rush, I guess, opportunities at that point. I, you know, I, I don't know that he's in a similar spot. I think, between him and, Nolan Smith playing for the Eagles.
Yeah.
I think both of those guys, I mean, they do different things, but I mean, they're in similar spots where, I don't know that playing time is right out of the gate, but, they're both developmental guys that I think have good paths in front of them.
Fair enough. So that moves us into the third round. So we're moving right along here. And it's just I'd be remiss if I just don't go ahead and pull the trigger on defensive back. We haven't had one off the board. If you've listened to me at all, you know that my cornerbacks are not my favorite, and that's why I'm not picking one. I'm picking Brian Branch, safety, second round draft pick of the Detroit Lions. This guy has first round talent as a safety, but typically, safeties don't normally go in the first round. I expect him to really break onto the scene. I think he's going to start right out of the gate. He will do whatever needs to happen to get on the field. So he'll play nickel, he'll play cornerback, he'll play safety if that gets him on the field. I think that he's, once again, just another guy that fits that Detroit Lions mold of we're going to make this our team. We're going to do whatever we can for the team. And I see him having a really successful rookie season and moving forward being yet another piece of this defense that's going to really perform in fantasy.
Yeah, I think Branch could go earlier in this draft. He is kind of that de facto top safety to go grab, especially in the situation he is in. So I like him at 3-1. This is a good pick. All right. So at 3-2, I'm looking at team 2. I've gotten Gibbs, I've gotten Young. I need to go look at some defense, give a little love to that. Nolan Smith's still out on the board, but like I said, he's going to be a one-trick pony. They're going to pin his ears back. He ran a 4.36 at the combine. This guy's probably not going to get you a lot of tackles. He's going to be a spot play. Yannick Njoku kind of guy, really speedy guy, doesn't get a lot of tackles, but will sack. So I'm actually going DT, and I'm going to grab Kalijah Cansey here. Another speed guy, but I like the opportunities that he will have on that defense this year. He is going to be out there a lot and often. If you watched any of the reports of training camp right now or videos, I don't think Baker Mayfield knows what team he's throwing to right now. And Kyle Trask is still, he never does. Kyle Trask, Trask.
I think you had that one right too, man.
Oh my gosh. So these guys are going to be on the field. And I think he's in a good opportunity to be a top 10 in the future. Maybe not this year, but future. It's a mold of Aaron Donald.
Yeah, mold of Aaron Donald. Went to the same school, like pretty much the same weight, same size.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a comparison everybody has, but obviously Aaron Donald is also a unicorn. But you watch this kid play, and he plays with such a motor that I would love to see him be successful. He is my D tackle 2 in this draft. I think that getting him in the third round is a great value if you're playing D tackles. Now, if you're talking about D linemen, he's probably going to fall much farther down the scoring metric if we don't have the separation between edge and D tackle. But in this draft, we are talking about separation of players. Safeties and corners are different. D tackles, D ends. Getting him in the third round as a guy that could, by year 3, be getting 10 sacks a season or more. Yeah, I love it.
Yep.
Yeah, he worries me a little bit just from the arm length perspective. There's a few guys, I guess, where you're kind of just okay being wrong about, and Cansey's one for me where I guess if I'm wrong about him, I'm okay with it. But like I said, all the other metrics, I mean, he's fast, speed, got a good, first step as far as that goes. But like I said, I wouldn't be lying. I mean, if the arm length didn't scare me a little bit. So
Yep. All
that
right.
leaves me. So I'm also going to dip into the defensive backwaters. So I am going to take Devin Witherspoon out of Seattle. Uh, I think for me, there's a couple corners, I guess, that were, in that similar ballpark. I mean, the Christian Gonzalez, even Emmanuel Forbes. I mean, I toyed around with him, the first round pick for the Redskins, but I think for me, I mean, Witherspoon is nasty. If they, I know they've shown his highlight reel. I mean, plenty of different times. I mean, him playing Indiana pretty much that first time he blasts a guy, 10 yards behind the line of scrimmage or whatever and blows up the play. But I think him not having to be kind of corner number one, him being in a secondary, I guess that, has the Jamal Adams and Tariq Woolen, I mean, I think will also help him. And I think that by help him, I mean, he might get picked on a little bit. And as a rookie, I think that is probably his benefit. So is he a shutdown guy? I don't really know that that's out of the gate, but like I said, if in that kind of offense, if they're looking for soft spots, not saying that he's a bad player, but like I said, he might get picked on a little bit because he is the rookie and the new guy of that group.
Well, and I like the division side to it. This is when I look in divisions sometimes, Seth. I look at the quarterbacks I'm going to be playing against for that year, type of teams I'm going to be playing against. Niners are a big running team. The Rams are going to be a Cooper Cup, but every other kind of receiver type of thing. So he's going to have his opportunities in that division to really shine as well. I mean, even in Arizona, you don't know who's going to be starting quarterback right now, week one, but yeah, Witherspoon's going to get to play them twice a year, and they're going to be running the ball a lot too. So he could be a lot of run support, short pass receiver, a lot of tackles year one.
Yeah, and I think he's a very, very good corner. My biggest, I guess, concern, I don't have him as my CB1. I actually have Christian Gonzalez as my CB1. And the reason for that is Devin Witherspoon could have a very much Sauce Gardner type of season. Great rookie year, gets a lot of points because they're not going to throw to Tyreek Woolen. They're going to throw to him. He's going to knock down passes. He's going to get tackles. He's going to become that shutdown man-to-man corner. That's what he's really good at. Christian Gonzalez, long, lanky, 4.3 speed, is going to play in this Bill Belichick zone style defense. And doesn't hurt that Jones just got arrested for multiple guns at the airport, which is just the stupidest thing. I don't understand how people do it. Sidebar. But Christian Gonzalez is going to be the guy that probably is going to have that pick six type of week that's going to win you. He probably will be a lot less consistent than a Witherspoon. But I think that Gonzalez will have, at the end of the year, more fantasy points and have some big games that help win you a week than Devin Witherspoon will. That's just my personal opinion. I 100% also think that Christian Gonzalez is a guy that you can play more than just his rookie year. So if we're talking about dynasty leagues, which obviously we are, I think there's a little bit more of a chance Christian Gonzalez might have a 3-year run as a successful cornerback on your team versus a maybe 1 to 1.5 years that Devin Witherspoon would give you.
Sure.
And I thought about that, but I mean, I think Witherspoon is actually going to have more tackles than Gonzalez. It doesn't seem like Gonzalez has got that mentality, I guess, step up and make a play, I guess. I mean, on that point. So that honestly, I mean, we're splitting hairs at this point, but like I said, I had Witherspoon over,
Yeah.
Gonzalez. So
Absolutely fair. Okay, so I'm back up for team 4. They've got Jordan Addison and Jalen Carter. Would be pretty happy with that kind of 2-step there. Defensive wise, do what?
Don't kicker, huh?
Yeah,
Jake Moody.
possibly kicker. Possibly kicker. It's definitely on the board. I'm not those two, Christian Gonzalez is definitely in the conversation for me right now. I look at some of these running backs. We're in the 3rd round, so we have to understand that that's okay to be in that 3rd round. The two that I'm kind of looking at running back wise are Tank Bigsby and Chase Brown. Chase Brown, because of all the stuff with Joe Mixon, clearly this will probably be his last year in Cincy. So is Chase Brown going to be the guy that steps up and takes over that role. Tank Bigsby was a pretty significant draft capital for a team that has a, round one Travis Etienne type guy. They've talked about wanting to limit Travis Etienne's workload. They've talked about that with Austin Eckler for years too, and it doesn't happen because they don't have anybody else there to help. So is Tank Bigsby just kind of the Isaiah Spiller of this year? I don't know, but I am willing to take the risk and take Tank Bigsby here with Travis Etienne already missing a season under his belt and only, so he's a 50-50 chance of playing. Obviously, it's better than that, but I think that Bigsby will actually have a role this year in the league.
The Jaguars' offense is up and coming.
Yeah.
Got a lot of skill players. Hopefully, Calvin Ridley can be, at least half of what his former self was. Bigsby, I think, comes into this offense, and he's going to get some playing time some point during the season. I think it's a great value pick at 3-4 as well.
And I mean, you hope he's a touchdown vulture. I mean, like I said, Etienne, I mean, obviously has a different type of skill set than Bigsby, but I think Bigsby has, I guess, the body type to kind of be that hammer if he needs to. So I can see it.
Yep. So for the next one for 3-5, I'm going to go for a guy that I could see is going to fly up the draft boards if training camp's going. And that's mainly because he has the de facto number one quarterback in the world right now, and Rashee Rice. And that's because Juju Smith left. They had, Mecole Hardman left. Something like the numbers 102 catches left that offense for 1,200 yards in the offseason. We know Kadarius Toney might be able to step into some of that number one role, but he's been pretty injury prone his entire career to start. This guy is going to have a chance to get on the field. And at this point, at 3-5, you're taking a flyer on a guy that could get fed some targets by Patrick Mahomes.
Absolutely. I mean, it's Patrick Mahomes' offense. Everybody wants a piece of that.
Yep. So it's a worthwhile pick to me here. I think he might fly up higher on the draft board depending on how training camps go and injuries before the season starts.
Yeah, I think it's how well does Sky Moore look, because he looked bad last year, and if he still looks bad, Rice will move up for sure.
Yep.
I am back on the clock, and I'm actually going to take another defensive back, Emmanuel Forbes, from the Washington Redskins. I know he is a smaller guy. I think he had a couple pick sixes actually last year, but he is one, I guess, where the draft capital's there. Like I said, I think that he might get picked on since he is a rookie this year, but he's one, I guess, where the little bit I know about him, like I said, I think he's a willing tackler. I think he is a ball hawk as far as that goes. So I think that I can see the upside there.
Yeah, I get it. The pick capability there, and I think he will get picked on. So I understand it.
Yep.
But because, I'm just gonna have to do it. And I'm gonna pull the trigger on Christian Gonzalez here at pick number 7 of the 3rd round. I've kind of talked my piece on him, what I think about him. And then I think that in that New England defense, we have had mass points fantasy wise from corners for the past 5 years. And
Yep.
I think that it's just the next guy in line.
I don't disagree. So with 3-8, I'm going to give you guys a shot in the dark here. I drafted CJ Stroud last round. I am going to draft his basically guy in the pocket with Tank Dell.
Yes, sir. I love Tank Dell. Tell me why you like him.
I love the fact that the rumor came out that CJ went to go say, I want this guy on the team. That tells me right out of the gate that I'm going to look his way. Like the attitude, like the way he played. He lead the college in receiving last year. The guy's a ball player. This is a great value pick if you can stack him with CJ.
Yeah, he's a small guy, but man, you watch his tape and he just has that it, There's tape out there of him cooking sauces last year in the NCAA, and if he's doing that, I'm feeling pretty good about the guy. So he is small. There is a lot of concern with that rookie quarterback, but we're talking the same kind of thing with Mingo. If it's going to be that kind of connection, fantastic.
Yep.
I'm up again. So I will take Marvin Mims out of Denver. Him being from Oklahoma, I think that he's got kind of a wide skill set. It doesn't really seem like we know for sure what the offense will look like with Peyton, but Sutton's a little up there in age. Judy was kind of under some trade talks as far as that goes. So, they don't really have, I guess, proper footing at this point. So I'm willing to take a flyer on Mims here in the third round.
Yeah, it's kind of pick your poison with wide receivers, right? And there's a lot, of wide receivers that I still do like. Jaden Reed, Josh Downs, Cedric Tillman are the three that I really do like. But I want to make sure that this guy's name gets said because I feel like he's going to be a top 3-round pick. And it's linebacker Diane Henley for the Los Angeles Chargers. We can go ahead and basically bury Kenneth Murray, say he's no longer anything worth of value. But they did bring in Eric Kendricks. But this kid, man, he plays with heart. He plays with a lot of power. And I think he's just going to be one of those guys that surprises people and comes out and is a very valuable linebacker.
Yep, I think that's great. Chargers are going to have a lot of capability for that guy to be successful.
And apparently I've picked just linebackers for Team 10. They have Jack Campbell, Drew Sanders, and Deion Henley.
They're doing an overhaul. Okay, so Team 11. For the next one, I'm going to take a guy that I could see flying up the board a little bit. At tight end, Darnell Washington. Love the skill set, love the physicality the guy brings to the table. I don't know how good he's going to be year one, but he's a freak athlete. So it's a good flyer to take here at the end of the third round.
And that's fair. I think that he has a great tight end, obviously, with Pat Freiermuth over him. I don't know if I would have taken him in the third over some of the wide receivers that I was talking about, but he could be just the red zone guy. And I mean, he could easily get 6-7 touchdowns this year.
Yep, exactly.
All right. To finish the third round, what do we got, Ryan?
I'm going to bring it on home. Well, you mentioned, I guess, that, for Team 10, you had drafted only linebackers. So I'm going to keep the same trend for Team 12. I'm going to absolutely butcher this guy's name. Felix Anukadike Uzama, the defensive end out of Kansas City, the last pick in the first round. I feel like Frank Clark got released or traded, or I can't quite remember. George Karlaftis is, going to kind of hold down that other spot, but I think that, he could carve out a role. Seemed like he had decent pass rushing chops from Kent State, or Kansas State, excuse me. So, but yeah, he's a guy that I like. I mean, here in the third round, plenty upside.
Yeah, I appreciate it. So that is the 3 rounds. I just wanted to thank you guys for coming on. I appreciate giving other insights, some thought process behind where we're picking at and the reason why guys are going where they're going. With IDP, it's very, very difficult to really understand the value comparative from offensive to defensive. So it's always nice to get some other voices out there.
Appreciate you having me, Seth. It's always fun to do this draft. I have to say, I love number one's picks this year. The 3 picks number one got are awesome.
Yeah. So we'll cut through those here at the end of the draft, but I wanted to get these guys on with their evenings and just once again, thank you guys for coming on. We will be back next week as always, but yeah, probably have you guys on possibly within the season and we'll figure some stuff out and get your opinions.
All right. Thanks, Seth. Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you.
So with that being said, that leaves us with just recap. Team 1 will end up with Brian Robinson, Devon Achane, and Brian Branch. Team 2, Jahmyr Gibbs, Bryce Young, Kalijah Cansey. Team 3, Jackson Smith-Njigba, Zay Flowers, and Devon Witherspoon. Team 4, Addison, Jalen Carter, Tank Bigsby. Team 5, Will Anderson, Sam Laporta, Rashid Rice. 6, Quentin Johnston, Michael Mayer, Manuel Forbes. Team 7, Anthony Richardson, Roshan Johnson, and Carlos Gonzalez. 8 has Dalton Kincaid, C.J. Stroud, Tank Dell to round out their third round. Team 9 has Charbonnet, Mingo, and Mims. Team 10, linebacker U, Jack Campbell, Drew Sanders, Deion Henley. Team 11, Lucas Van Ness,
Kendre Miller, Darnell Washington, and Team 12, Tyrese Wilson, Miles Murphy, and Nkaduke. Once again, guys, thank you for listening. We had a blast doing this. Hopefully this at least gives you a little bit of feeling of how this is going to play out. But as always, listen in, week out, because defense wins fantasy. We'll see you next week.